What is the FAFSA? The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. The FAFSA collects certain personal and financial data used to calculate the student's EFC. We're going to talk a lot about acronyms tonight. An EFC is an expected family contribution, and to confirm that the student satisfies general eligibility criteria. The FAFSA is also going to apply to the student for state aid as well. For FAFSA purposes, your student is either going to be independent or dependent. The FAFSA asks 13 dependency questions to determine the student's dependency status. If the student can answer yes to any one of those, then you parents, you're off the hook. Your information is not going to be used to determine your son or daughter's financial aid eligibility. Let's address what is used to determine the EFC. For the 12-13 FAFSA, the student and the parent's 2011 taxed and untaxed income, student and parent's asset information as of the day they complete the application, the number of the people in the household, and the number of people in the household that are attending college for the 12-13 academic year. All that information is going to be going to a formula that Congress has created to determine this EFC. Okay? Financial aid offices all around the country for schools that you list on your FAFSA are going to use that number to determine what types of financial aid your son or daughter is going to qualify for. The EFC is a dollar amount that the government feels that based on the data from the FAFSA that the student and parent can contribute toward the student's education for the academic year. It's like a measure of the family's financial strength. The EFC has a range. It goes from 0 to $99,999. The closer to 0 you are, the greater the likelihood your son or daughter is going to qualify for certain grants. The closer you are to the other end, the $99,999, the greater the likelihood your son or daughter is just going to be looking at probably a Stafford loan and a Parent Plus loan as well. When we go through the different types of financial aid that are available later in the presentation, I'll give you an idea of what the EFC range should be for your student in order to qualify for that certain grant. We have a question. The question is the first two requirements? Okay, that's a good question. For the 12-13 school year, they're going to look at the student and the parent's taxed and untaxed income for 2011. They're going to look at the number of people that are in the household. They're going to look at the number of people in the household that are attending college. And they're going to look at the student and the parent's assets as of the day that the application is completed. Okay? These next few slides, we're going to cover a lot of information. So if I go through this too fast, I'll be happy to slow down and go back. If you have any questions, please make sure you raise your hand because there's a lot of information that we're going to cover. I'm going to go ahead and mention this right now, and we'll just get this out of the way. It's important to get your FAFSA in as soon as possible. Okay? How many have their taxes done now? Not many. How many have received their W-2s? Got a few hands popping up. Not many. This is what you can do. It's important you get your application in as soon as possible. You can submit the 12-13 FAFSA now. It was available January 1st of 2012. What you could do is you can submit it. If your income from 2010 to 2011 was similar or pretty close, you can submit it with your 2010 tax information. Okay? Or you can estimate your 2011 tax information to submit it. What schools are going to look at is they're going to look at the application receipt date. That's the date that you initially submitted the application. Okay? Once you get your 2011 taxes done, then you can go in and make corrections. We'll talk about corrections here in a little while. You can go and do corrections because you're going to be on Scouts Honor, because you're going to be estimating your income. You can go back and make corrections to add your 2011 information. So when you get your tax return done for 2011, you can have your tax return off to the side, you're at your computer, you can transfer the information from your 2011 tax return to make sure the information is accurate. Or, if you meet certain criteria, you can utilize the IRS data retrieval option. All you have to do with that is just click on the option. If you meet certain criteria, your tax information from 2011 will automatically be transferred from the IRS to the FAFSA application. Okay? The online process is very user-friendly nowadays. 10 years ago, it was not. About 97 to 98% of the FAFSAs that are submitted now are submitted online. Okay? And when we go through the presentation tonight, you'll see how user-friendly it is. Okay? Anyone have any questions? No. question. Okay. Okay, we're going to get to that in just a moment. Okay, the question was in regards to what website do we go to. Continuing. There we go. You must submit the FAFSA for each academic year. The best thing to remember is when it's tax time, that's the time to submit the FAFSA for the following fall. Okay? So you need to, just because you're doing the FAFSA for the 12-13 school year, that doesn't take care of your son or daughter for their whole education in college. You have to do it once a year. Okay? Next we'll talk about whose information do I use. When we go through the screenshots of the FAFSA online later, we're going to use the biological mom, dad, brother, sister example, okay? I'm going to be the brother. We're going to take me back in time to when I was 18 to submit the FAFSA, okay? So in this example, we're going to use my biological mom and dad's taxed and untaxed income for 2011, their asset information, as well as mine. What do we do if my sister's attending college? Does she have to do a FAFSA on her own for herself? Anyone? That is correct. She would have to do her own FAFSA. Let's say that we have a family situation where biological mom and dad are divorced. Whose information do we use? If the brother and sister are living with biological mom, then they're just going to look at brother's information and biological mom's information. If biological mom is remarried, then they're going to look at biological mom's information and step-parents' information as well. Okay? Okay, next we're going to talk about federal methodology. Federal methodology is the formula created by Congress to determine the EFC. Okay? The financial aid administrators are just communicating to you what you qualify for. We don't create these rules. Your lawmakers create these rules for the EFC. The EFC is determined by the information that you submit on the FAFSA application. Sometimes people, well, a lot of times people will say, well, how is this EFC created? What are the different components in it? How do I know I have a 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 99,000 EFC? How is all that determined? If you go to that website on the bottom, www.studentaid.ed.gov, that'll give you a breakdown of the EFC formula. If you do the EFC formula by hand, it's 2 pages long. Back in the old days of financial aid, it would take us about 20 minutes to determine the EFC. Nowadays, the EFC is determined by how fast you can type and submit the application. Okay? But it's very complex. And again, it's our lawmakers that determine this formula. It's not financial aid administrators at colleges. The question is that website a calculator where you key in information and it'll give you an EFC? No, that just gives you the breakdown of the formula for the EFC. Good question. Yes, sir. Great question. The question is you're going to be so excited when you get out of here tonight, you're going to rush right home, but drive careful, to do your FAFSA. You get started, you're so excited, and you just get sleepy. Or the basketball game's on, or the wings are on. I can't finish this application. What do I do? You can save it, and you can come back to it. Good question. Any other questions? Okay. Next, we're going to talk about principles and need analysis. In the eyes of the federal government, to the extent they're able, parents have the primary responsibility to pay for their dependent children's education. Students have a responsibility to contribute to their education costs as well. Families should be evaluated in their present financial condition. Families' ability to pay for educational costs must be evaluated in an equitable and consistent manner, recognizing that special circumstances can and do affect its ability to pay. Next, we're going to talk about special circumstances. If you have any of these special circumstances in your family, I highly encourage you to let the school know that the schools that you are looking at know what the family situation is. This is what you're going to do. You want to get your application in early. So you can submit the application tonight if you want with your 2010 tax information or estimate 2011. Once you get your 2011 tax return done, you go in and make corrections. Okay? At that point, you're going to start talking to the schools that you're looking at and let them know if you have any of these special circumstances. Special circumstances are mitigating circumstances, things that happen in life that are beyond a family's control, which would be loss or reduction in family income, like a dislocated worker, or death, financial loss due to illness, medical or dental expenses not covered by insurance, things of that nature. Okay? What you're going to do is you're going to explain to these schools in writing what's going on. You're going to provide documentation to them, like if it's a job loss, an unemployment determination letter, or a letter from your employer letting you know that your job was ending on a certain date. What you're going to do is you're going to show the school how your income from 2011 to 2012 is changing. Okay? Your goal is to get that EFC to go down to increase aid eligibility. Okay? Anyone have any questions on special circumstances? Okay. I'll give you an example. A couple years ago, we had a person that worked for a company in Midland, and the previous year she had earned $100,000. Okay? She got laid off from her job, so she went from earning $100,000 down to $10,000. When she initially submitted her FAFSA, all she qualified for was an unsubsidized student loan, like $9,500. Had she not come and talked to us and let us know what was going on, that's all she would have received. Through the reevaluation process, we were able to get her into a Baker College grant, a little bit of a Pell Grant, a subsidized student loan, and on the work-study program. Those 4 forms of financial aid, that was enough to cover her tuition, her books, and her travel expenses for that academic year. Okay? Yes?
So those special circumstances are school-specific, not federal aid specific?
Okay, the question is special circumstances, are they school-specific?
Right, so you have to contact that school directly and you send that letter.
That's a good question. The next slide that we have here, this is a screenshot from the application online, okay? It wants to know, is anyone in the household a dislocated worker? Now, I'm going to tell you right now, financial aid offices around the nation are very short-staffed and overworked, okay? Through this process, they have the ability to identify families that have special circumstances. In a perfect world, they would be able to send everyone a letter that answers yes to this question, to get some feedback from the family, to find out what's going on, to see what they can do to help. That's where you come in. Don't depend on them to contact you. You're going to be proactive to let them know what's going on, okay? So even though you answer yes to this, it's not going to change anything. You got to contact the school, okay? And as far as a reevaluation goes, it's based on the professional judgment of the financial administrator at the schools that you're looking at. So school A, they may accept your reevaluation. School B may not. A lot of it's going to be dependent on the quality of the documentation that you turn in. You don't have to write them a book, but you need to clearly paint a picture of what's going on and provide the proper documentation. Okay? Any questions? Yes? Okay, the question is will aid be different based on the school that you're going to? Not necessarily, but the cost of attendance at the schools will be different. Okay? When you submit your FAFSA, you get what's called an EFC. School's going to use that to determine what types of aid your son or daughter qualifies for. Okay? But the cost of attendance from schools A, B, and C is going to differ. Okay, so at school A, you might not need as much financial aid as you would schools B and C. Okay?